What exercises should you be doing if you're someone that's trying to build muscle? If you're new to my channel, hello and welcome. My name is Chris and I'm an online fitness coach for women. And in today's video, we're going to talk about what exercises should you be doing if you're someone that's trying to build muscle. So, building muscle, what exercises should you be doing? How many sets, how many reps, and how many times should you be working out during the week? Now, if you're someone that's asking these questions, that's perfect. These are the questions you definitely should be asking. And when it comes to building muscle, what you have to understand is more so of the right exercises and how often you should be doing them. So when it comes to building muscle, there's two parts that you want to focus on. You want to focus on the fitness and the nutrition, because a lot of times what people do is they tend to just focus on the exercise and they don't focus on the nutrition. Now, as you can see in this video, I'm pretty lean, right? I'm pretty cut. I'm somewhat muscular. And when it comes to that, it's really more so of the food I eat and how heavy I train, right? So when people typically want to get in shape, they don't focus on the nutrition. They focus on the exercise. And so many times we try to go to the gym and try to get in shape just by going to the gym. And it's like, there's one aspect of it. Really, when it comes down to it, when people look lean and in shape, they're muscular, it really comes down to them actually dialing in 70% of their nutrition. Because getting in shape is like 30%, then the nutrition is 70%. So here's what you want to do. When it comes to building muscle, let's focus on exercise first. 'Cause I know that's what most people, I know most of you that's watching, that's what you're focusing on, right? So when it comes to building muscle, right, you want to focus on compound exercises. So we have compound exercises, and then we also have isolation. And isolation isolation exercise is more of a bicep curl, right? So you have a pair of weights and you're doing a bicep curl, right? That's the isolation exercise, right? Or if you're doing like a hammer curl, right? That's the isolation exercise. What that means is you're working on just one muscle. So when I was doing that curl, I'm just working on my bicep here, right? I'm not working on anything else. What you want to do is focus on compound exercises. Compound exercises focuses on big muscles, right? So your chest, your glutes, your back. So compound exercises come down to like bench presses, pull-ups, dips, squats. You want to do things like that that's hitting like big muscle groups, right? Because when you're squatting, you're hitting your quads, your hamstrings, and your glutes. Mainly your quads you're hitting, that's your primary muscle. When you're bench pressing, you're obviously hitting your chest, right? So you're bench pressing. When it comes to doing pull-ups, right, you're hitting your back. And if you're doing lat pull downs, right, or rows, you're still hitting your back, your latissimus dorsi. If you want to get all sciencey about it, you're hitting your back muscles. So you want to do big body compound exercises that's going to hit more than one muscle. Because when we're doing a chest exercise, right, we're hitting our chest. When we're doing like a bench press, right, or push-ups, we're hitting our chest, but we're also hitting our tricep. So you're hitting your chest and your tricep. So you're targeting two muscles at the same time, whether you realize it or not. When we're doing more like a row, like I have a dumbbell here, and I'm doing like a row, but I'm actually like pulling back as if I'm actually bent over, because now it won't actually hit my back. But let's say I'm bent over, or I'm doing like a row, or like with cables, I'm hitting my bicep, right? And I'm hitting my back. So I'm hitting two muscles. So think bicep and back, chest and tricep. And when you train, you want to do all those exercises, compound lifts, squats, deadlifts, but deadlifts can be kind of tricky because you have to learn how to do that. So that's something that you should have someone teach you in person, right? Squats can be kind of tricky too, but you want to do squats, you want to do a bench press, you want to do pull-ups, dips, you want to do big body movements, right? And push-ups too. You want to do big body movements that's going to actually target big muscles. Anything isolating, like just doing like a single leg squat, not so much. Why do a single leg squat when you could do a whole squat that's targeting both legs at the same time? So you always want to focus on big body. Now, when you're training a bigger muscle, right? And when I say big body movements, I'm really saying big muscle groups. When you're training big muscle groups, you could train them twice a week, maybe even 3 times a week, depending on how fast you recover. Because some people may say, oh, you're overtraining. You're not overtraining if you recover fast enough. So for me, training as long as I've been training, my recovery is pretty fast to where I can train chest on Monday and then hit chest again like on like maybe Thursday, maybe even Wednesday, right? Wednesday or Thursday. So I'm pretty good in that regard. Now, when it comes to building muscle, you want to do those movements, right? You want to do bench press, you want to do pull-ups, dips, you want to do bent over rows, you want to do squats, right? And if you have a good form, you want to do RDLs, deadlifts, right? But those get kind of tricky, but you want to hit big muscle groups. Now, with doing that, you want to have your training frequency pretty high. So you want to work out, along with doing those exercises, you want to work out 3 to 5 times during a week, because now your frequency is high, and then also your volume you want to be high. When I say volume, meaning how much weight you're lifting. So we're doing the compound exercises, you want to make sure you're lifting something heavy. Right now, right, with this is 11 pounds, right? This is not going to do anything for my biceps because I lift more than 11 pounds when it comes to doing bicep curls. So I won't have any type of muscle growth doing this, using this pair of dumbbells, because it's not going to do anything for me. My biceps are used to lifting a heavier load. So for me to grow anymore, I can't use dumbbells of this nature because this is way too light. When I first started off, this was very heavy for me, but now this is not. So for someone like you want to find out how heavy do you need to lift, and you would know that just from lifting weights. If you could get about 9 reps out and that's a struggle, that weight is pretty heavy for you. 8 reps, I would say 8 to 9 reps. But if you can lift 8 to 9 reps and it's a struggle right before you hit the 8 to 9 reps, that's a good amount of weight for you. And you want to keep doing that and keep lifting that until you get to like 12 reps. Now you know you can increase the weight, because over time, your body will adapt to the weight that you're lifting. It has to. It may take you a while. You may be someone who's doing bicep curls with 15 pounds and you're doing it for like 3, 4, 5 months. But eventually you will get to a point where you feel like this is easy, and now you can bump up to 20 pounds doing bicep curls. So you want to focus on compound lifts. You want to focus on heavy weight, but controlled. Don't go heavy to where you injure yourself. You know what you can do. It shouldn't be a struggle. You can't just lift weights and think, okay, this is a walk in the park. You should be sweating. You might even have to grunt a little bit, and you understand why you see people in the gym, men and women, who grunt. It's not just men. You see why sometimes people grunt in the gym, because it's heavy weight. And the heavier the weight, the slower you're gonna go. If you're lifting weights and you're going very fast, the weight is way too light for you. It should be heavy and controlled. And also when you're lifting weights, you wanna go slow, because as I mentioned in my other video, you want time under tension. If you're going fast like this, the weight's way too fast. You see how I'm going fast? This is way too light. But when it's heavy, I'm gonna go slow and I'm gonna contract my muscles, and I'm gonna have a good stretch to where now my bicep gets that blood flow in and out of my muscle. And that's basically what you want. You want blood flow coming into the muscle, coming out as you're contracting the muscle. It's a stretch and it's a contraction. And you wanna have that going on. So you're doing compound exercises, right? You could do isolation, but here's the thing with isolation. If you're someone who's already kind of like in pretty good shape, you can get away with isolation, but it's still better to do compound exercises, because you want to grow your muscles and you want to hit as many muscle groups as you can. So whether you're someone who's like lean or someone who's overweight or obese, you're still always better off just doing compound exercises, right? And like I said, heavy but controlled weight. Now, with that being said, as I mentioned, just to recap this, you want to make sure you're working out 3 to 5 times during the week, doing resistance training. In the beginning, you can do bodyweight training, but then eventually you're gonna have to switch to now using some type of heavier resistance, because your body weight cannot be what you use forever. You have to now actually use dumbbells, use strength machines, use the free weights, the easy bars, use the squat racks, because those are actually heavy weights, and that's gonna force more and more. When it comes to the training aspect, you wanna do compound lifts, right? I know I'm saying this over again, but I wanna make sure you all get this. You wanna do compound lifts. You wanna make sure it's heavy but controlled. You want to get around about 8 to 12 reps, and you want to get about 4 to 5 sets. And you want to work out 3 to 5 times during the week. Resistance training. You can do your cardio, do resistance training. So that's what you want to do. You stick to that, you will build muscle. Now, that's the fitness aspect. When it comes to the nutrition aspect, this is where you're going to have to now find your calories, right? And this is where you're going to have to eat at maintenance. And this is building muscle, right? We're not talking about losing weight. We're talking about building muscle. I'm talking to someone who's already reduced their body fat. They're lean, they're cut, they're muscular. Now that you want to build, right? They don't have much body fat, because if you have body fat and you're trying to build muscle, you won't see the muscle because the body fat is covering the muscle. So even though you'll be building muscle potentially, you can't see it. And what's the point of having muscle and can't see it, right? So you want to make sure you're actually building the muscle, but you want to burn the body fat first. So let's say we burn the body fat, right? That's out the picture. Now we're building muscle. Now, our calories are not going into a deficit. We're going to a slight surplus. And the reason why I say slight surplus, let's say your maintenance calories is 2,000 calories, right? And I talked about maintenance calories, so I'm not gonna go over it right now. And right now in this video, you're at maintenance calories, 2,000. Now we're gonna go up to 2,200, a slight surplus. Then you're gonna go up to 2,300. Then you're gonna go up to 24. If you go from like 2,000 calories to 2,500, you may go into a spillage where you may put on some body fat because you put on weight way too fast. You're gonna put on weight very, very slowly and gain about a half a pound to a pound per week. When it comes to weight loss, I typically have my clients, we aim for a half a pound to a pound per week, right? That's the goal. Whether we hit it or not, that's the goal. For my clients that may be a bit heavier, we may end up losing 2 to 3 pounds per week because they're a bit heavier, right? If someone's a bit heavier, they're gonna lose more weight faster in the beginning. I mentioned that in my other video. But when it comes to building muscle, we now wanna make sure that we're getting at least a half a pound to a pound per week. That will slow down, and you may not get that every week because we're gonna adapt, and our bodies will always adapt. This is something called metabolic adaptation. Your body will always adapt to what you're doing because your body likes to be in homeostasis. It likes to have this common balance, this like comfortable place. So when you're constantly changing what you're doing, your body's gonna always adapt. So you bring your calories up, but also as you bring your calories up, your carbs and your protein are gonna have to go up as well. Because in order to lift heavier weights, you're gonna need more carbs. Why? Because when we consume carbs, it goes into our body as glucose and it gets stored into our muscles as glycogen. So we need that. So when you're trying to build muscle, man or woman, you wanna make sure that you have glycogen stores in your muscles to help you lift the heavier load. Because imagine trying to lift heavy weights and having 1,000 calories or 1,500 calories. You can't max out on the weight you're trying to lift to build muscle if you're having less calories. You need more calories because it gives you more. Also, when it comes to now protein, your protein is gonna have to go up. Typically, it's 0.8 times your body weight, but we're gonna probably have to have more, probably 1.1 to 2.2 when it comes to your body weight because we're trying to build muscle. So we're gonna have to go higher in calories because we're not where we wanna be right now. So we have to eat the food as far as the weight we wanna be. So it's kind of like you don't eat where you are, you eat where you wanna be. So how much muscle do you wanna build? So you wanna build more muscle, you gotta eat to the point of the muscle you wanna build. You wanna train to the point of the muscle you wanna build. So it's gonna have to be uncomfortable when it comes to the training. It's gonna have to be a lot of hard work. That's why most people don't build muscle too much because it takes a lot out of someone to consistently go to the gym 3 to 5 times a week, lifting heavy weights, because that means your body has to recover. And when your body recovers, that means going to sleep early, getting enough rest, drinking water, and putting enough nutrients within your body. Feeding your body. You want to feed your body so the muscles can grow. Think of muscle as like plants, right? You want your plant to grow, right? You got to water it, so give it sunlight. It's the same thing with your muscles. You got to feed your muscles, and that means having more protein. That definitely means having carbs to get up to heavy weights, and it also means just overall getting enough sleep, enough water, and make sure you just put the right things into your body, which is obviously just come down to, carbs and protein. Fats play a big role as well, but mainly you want to focus on carbs and protein and hitting that calorie surplus. Most people don't work on the calorie surplus because they think that they can just lift heavy weights. You need a surplus because you need to gain the weight, right? You can lift heavy and force that muscle growth, but you need to actually grow in size. Now, you don't want to grow too fast because now you grow too fast, you may just gain weight. You may not actually gain the muscle. And that's what some people make the mistake of, actually trying to grow too fast, having too many calories, and now you're just getting fat. You're not even building muscle. Now you just look like the fat and the muscle kind of combined together. And that's really what you want to try to avoid. You don't want the fat and the muscle to combine because now it's like you have this look of like a power lifter. So this and this, you don't want to combine because now what happens is you can't see the muscle, right? So if you want to just slowly remove this and start seeing more of the muscle growth. Because right now, right, you see me in this video, I'm pretty lean and muscular. If I started putting on more body fat, I would still be big, but you wouldn't see my vascularity and my cuts because I would have way too much body fat covering that. And for you all that's watching, most of you really just want to have more of a muscular shape to yourself. So there you have it. That is pretty much all when it comes to building muscle. You don't need to have a protein shake necessarily. Those supplement companies will tell you that because they want you to spend more money. They want you to be reliant on their supplements because if they make you believe that you have to buy their product to build muscle, as long as you want to build muscle, you're going to keep buying their product and they keep you coming back. You can utilize a protein shake if you're not getting enough protein from your food, but you typically want to get more protein from your foods than you do from a protein shake because you want to get protein from foods because most high-base protein comes from animal-based foods, right? So that's why vegans have a hard time building muscle. They can still do it, but it's less option for them. But you still have people who are vegan who still build muscle and still look great. But when it comes to getting in protein, you're gonna have a lot of animal products, and you wanna make sure you're getting it from food, because you never wanna use supplements as food. Supplements is just supposed to be it's supposed to be you supplying your diet. You're supposed to get it from food first, and get it from food all around if you can. Just leave the supplements alone, right? Because I'm a big component of just not using supplements. You don't need it. You typically need to just eat more food. Most people don't need to buy supplements. There's no weight loss pills. There's no powders to make you build muscle. It's just supposed to add on. So if you're not getting like 180 grams of protein per day, right, from your food, you're getting like, let's say 160, and you take a protein shake to get the extra 20, then fine. But if you could always get it from food, you're in a better place. Get it from food, right? Because I don't really take any supplements. The only time I take supplements is when I'm trying to get my calories up, and I take an extra supplement to get like an extra 500 calories from a protein shake. Well, from a Maskin, and that has protein. It has protein and carbs. But that's only to get me an extra boost, because it's hard to just get all that food in. So it's easier to just take in a liquid calorie if I'm just walking to the gym, going about my business, running my business. I just like to just get that extra calories in from liquids, because I'm eating food all the time. Then I'm just saying, okay, it's a lot easier to just get those calories in through liquids. But if not, I can always just get it from food. So you want to focus on food over supplements. That is the best advice you're ever gonna hear from anyone. Food over supplements, because you're just gonna keep spending money on supplements. But food, we always need to eat food. Food is life. So always focus on food over supplements, and making sure you're hitting your protein. Now, when it comes to doing something like this, you have to be consistent. When it comes to the nutrition and when it comes to the training, you have to be consistent. You can't just want it. You have to really, really want it. And most people give up on their fitness goals, be honest with you. Most people start and they stop and they just never get there. And they keep doing this start and stop. You have to be consistent, right? You want to build muscle, you have to actually push your body to a new limit. And when it comes to getting that burning, that lactic acid that builds up, that burn that you get when you lift weights, that's lactic acid. That's gonna happen. You wanna be able to push past that pain. So let's say you're doing a bicep curl, let's say you're doing a squat or something like that, or you're doing push-ups, you wanna get to the point where you can always push past that burn. Because when you push past that burn, you can build more muscle, because typically that's why we stop. When we're doing reps, let's say you're doing 10, 12 reps, we always stop because that burning. When you can push past that burning, you can build more muscle, because when we build muscle, right, and I'm gonna get kind of sciencey for you all, we make micro tears in our muscle fibers. When we make those micro tears in our muscle fibers, what happens is those muscle fibers repair, and they repair. And that's why we had that soreness, those DOMS. DOMS are basically soreness, and it's basically delayed onset muscle soreness. That's what DOMS are. And when we get sore, it's because we really, really hit that muscle really, really good, right? We really, really targeted that muscle. Or maybe what happened was you have a new training program that you never done before. So it's a new stimulus to the muscle. And when we get that soreness, it's because those micro tears are being made in our muscle fibers. And those muscle fibers repair stronger. And then what happens is when we are having the right amount of calories, protein, they build up stronger. So let's say this is a fiber, it's growing, it's growing, it's growing, it's growing, and it's growing. This is what we call muscle hypertrophy, because muscle hypertrophy is basically saying muscle increasing in size. So that's what you want. You want your muscle to increase in size and grow and grow and grow. And eventually we all do have a limit where we can't grow anymore and we capped out, but most of us haven't reached that limit. Most of us just don't train hard enough. Some people may think that they reached the limit, but they haven't. They just haven't trained hard enough, and they're not having enough food. It takes a lot of mental capacity to train very, very hard to grow that big as most people want to get. It takes a lot, and most people haven't capped out and hit that limit. They just don't train hard enough. So, make sure you train hard enough, stick to your protein, stick to your carbs, your calories, and that's a whole nother video where I have to tell you how you find your protein, your carbs, your calories, but you definitely want to be at maintenance and go up into a surplus, and make sure that the volume is heavy, right? Make sure your frequency of you going to the gym is 3 to 5 times a week, and making sure you're doing compound exercises. Don't do the isolation so much. You could do it towards the ending, but make sure you are doing the compound exercises. With all that being said, when it comes to building muscle, to leave you off with this, when it comes to cardio, I know that's another question. Cardio doesn't necessarily burn muscle. It can build muscle. It can be a downside to building muscle, but once your calories are high and your protein is, you have enough protein to maintain your muscle you're not gonna lose any muscle. You have a better chance losing muscle being in a calorie deficit for way too long than you do in being a calorie surplus and doing cardio, all right? Your muscle may feel flat doing cardio, but you're not gonna necessarily burn off your muscle. That takes a lot. You would have to be like a marathon runner who runs a lot, so much to where you put yourself in a deficit and now you lost so much body fat that now your body is going to your muscles for fuel. Because when we lose all our body fat, now the body goes into muscle as fuel, and muscle is the last resort. It's like that savings account. You don't want your body ever going for muscle as fuel. That's why you always want to make sure you're watching your calories and making sure you have enough protein and you're doing resistance training. Marathon runners don't do resistance training like that. So that's why they're so lean and cut, but this is why they aren't so muscular too. They basically run so much and have such low calories and don't really lift weight to the point where they don't have much muscle. So you want to make sure, you're probably not going to be doing that, right? Because you're trying to build muscle. So you want to make sure you're actually having the calories and you're training enough to actually build the muscle to where that frequency is 3 to 5 times. So when it comes to cardio, to answer that question for anyone who's asking, okay, Chris, how much cardio should I be doing? You want to be doing cardio after your workouts, right? You could do a little warm up on the treadmill, right? 5-10 minutes, do a little warm up, nothing intense, a little warm up. Then do your strength training. Then you could do your heavy cardio session at the end. Why? Because when you first go to the gym, you have the most energy. So you want to make sure that you give that energy to strength training. Because imagine doing a hard cardio session for like 30 minutes, then lifting weights. You're depleted now. And it's easier to walk on the treadmill, go on the Stairmaster elliptical, right? Being a bit depleted from strength training, than to actually go do some type of heavy cardio and then do strength training. You're not gonna have that energy. And you wanna give the most energy to what's most important, and that's the strength training. It's kind of like waking up in the morning, you're fresh, you have the most energy, you just woken up. You want to do the most difficult task of the day if you can. It's going to take the most out of you, right? So that's why you want to do strength training first and then do your heavy cardio session at the end. But if it's a light cardio session in the beginning, you can do that. Only because you want to get warmed up and you want to get some blood flow in your muscles. You never want to just start your workout and be cold. You want to make sure you're actually having some type of blood flow going on. So if you're someone like me who walks to the gym and you walk pretty fast and that's your cardio, then that could be it. It's just a matter of, are you warmed up? And then you want to stretch too. But if you're doing your cardio at the gym, that's totally fine. Get your warm up and then start the training session and then do your heavy cardio after the strength training, or you could do it on a different day. It's totally up to you. So if you have the blueprint when it comes to building muscle, do that. And come back to the video. Let me know in the comment sections, how did it go? But if it's someone who's gonna take this advice, you have to take this seriously. If you take everything I'm giving you and only do like 30, 40, or 50%, it's not gonna work. And typically people do this and they say, oh, it doesn't work. It doesn't work because you didn't do it the way it was told to be done. You have to follow it down to the T, and you have to be serious about actually building muscle. If you're someone who's trying to build muscle and you don't have a strong reason why, then it's typically not gonna work. From what I've seen, being a fitness coach, being a personal trainer, more so now online fitness coach, I've seen people do better with losing weight than building muscle, because most people don't care about building muscle as much as they care about losing body fat. They typically are just annoyed with having so much body fat that they do a pretty good job with reducing that body fat. But most people don't really want to build muscle like that unless they are already an athlete who has to compete, because you're on a team, you're playing a sport, maybe you're bodybuilding, and you just need to get better at this sport. Then those people typically end up building muscle. But if it's not like a real job for you, most people don't actually build that much muscle. It really has to take a strong reason why as to why you want to build muscle. So when you can find a strong reason why and build that muscle, you're typically going to be fine, right? Fitness has to be like a big part of your life. But if it's something you just kind of play around with, and you can be honest with yourself, you know if you're playing around with this or not, you know if you're taking this serious or not, because you're going to see yourself doing the daily work, right? You can see yourself cooking your food, having your protein, having the eggs, having the steak, the chicken, the rice, the salmon, the oatmeal, having the peanut butter, going to the gym, training hard, tracking what you're doing. If you're doing that, we know that you're serious about this. But if you're kind of half asking it, then it's not going to work. So I'm gonna leave you guys off with that. I hope you guys can take this and apply it, because this is basically free game. I'm giving you exactly the blueprint. I'm basically giving you the blueprint to building muscle. That's basically it. It's always fitness and nutrition. And if you take this, you all will be fine.